Evening everyone, welcome to Footy Furnace. Opening round is in the can. Some magnificent footy played by some RFIs for other, and we'll get straight into it. I'm joined by the Hawthorn legend himself, Dermott Brereton. Good evening, Derm.
Hey James, how are you?
Hey, a really fascinating round of football. I know we get, mocked a little bit for making snap judgments, but there was some breathtaking footy played by some, and some others we've already got some question marks on.
Absolutely. I think we've just about seen one of the candidates that is going to be for goal of the year, Bailey Williams' goal Saturday night. What an extraordinary personal piece of play. But yeah, some question marks over the Blues. We're expecting something different. We've got a different outfit looking. Kind of similar result. The Hawks were thoroughly disappointing. I think the Hawks were the most disappointing of the round so far.
We'll get into them very shortly. Well, opening round had an extension this year. It came south down to Victoria. The Saints taking on Collingwood in what is the Saints' biggest ever home and away attendance record that they had there at the MCG. Well done to both Saints and Collingwood fans turning up in all their numbers, 82,500. Let's get straight into it, Derm, because when you and I were sitting watching this game, something jumped out to you pretty quickly, and that was Collingwood's uncontested marks.
147 marks they took in the end. So this is the opening goal. That's off a 50 metre for an incorrect stand on the mark. But the thing that jumped off the page to us was another big catch here by Cooper Sharman coming through. But the Magpies, 434 possessions, more than any other team this weekend, and they just managed to own the footy. Well, take it out of contest, didn't they? Naz gets on the end of one there. Not his best game, 20 possessions for Naz, but the thing that I found that was staggering, 14 of them in the front half, yet he only had 4 score involvements. So you'd be interesting to see at the end of this season, it's a long way to go back, all the way to opening round, whether Perryman gets votes on that. Keeping him to 4 score involvements, no score apart from that goal himself.
They just seem to have the answers at the right time, Collingwood. A lot's going to be made of their experience and, can they see through the long year? But it certainly held them in good stead. Scott Pendlebury was all class. Pretty much sat most of the first quarter, and then a little bit of sting went out of the game. He finished with 26 touches, and you mentioned the high amount of possessions. Nick Dacos, 41. Josh Dacos, 36. Dan Houston in a very good game. Of course, it was tough for him last year, but he had
to go.
He had 28 touches. The Saints, led by Sinclair, 35, Windhager, 29, and Flanders, one of their new additions, 28. We touched on the uncontested marks. What did it do to St Kilda with Collingwood possessing the footy so much?
Well, St Kilda wanted the ball to be in contest. They have a good inside quartet, and they love the ball being in the mode where we can outwin the opposition. We can take it off them, take it off the ground. But if you own the footy, look at these St Kilda jumpers here. They are always being massaged around, being moved around, and nice little front and centre here as well, and slips out the side. And this turns into a wonderful, wonderful pass by... There's about 4 blokes in the league who can make that pass.
On their opposite foot.
Yeah. And it got into the hands of one of those 4. Yeah. So, look, what it does, it actually takes sting out of the game. If you're up for the fight, I want to beat you at winning the ball there. If there's no ball there, it's taken away what I've based my game on, and where do you go to next? So I thought it was really clever. 434 possessions, 147 marks. Now, the next highest possession getter for the whole round was 412. I think it was the Gold Coast Suns, and they only had 74 marks. So you put that in perspective, the ball's still alive a lot of the time. Collingwood don't let the ball be alive so the opposition can win it.
Yeah, they were just taking any free available. And I know we keep going on about numbers, but it just painted the picture really well. 434 touches, but only went inside forward 40 times. So it speaks to their efficiency, where the Saints went inside 63 times. Well, a man who didn't need a whole lot of the ball when we're throwing all these numbers up, but maximum impact. Jordan De Goey, 19 touches and 3 goals. He's bullocking, dynamic best, and that front half danger player that all sides love to have, in their kit bag, if you will.
Absolutely. You see him just move his opponent under the footy. Then everything he did was, it reminded me a bit of Cam Rayner from last night. He's so powerful. I mean, that's just a regulatory snap for him. But you watch the way he's able to push his opponent. He just pushes Jack McRae sideways. Then McRae had to do better. He's coming down to give coverage, I might add, as well. So it wasn't exactly his direct man, but you just got to do better than that if you're asked to fill the void at that moment in time.
Very good snapshot a goal. There's some players who just hit those pure, and he seemed to go through goalpost side. Maybe an injury concern for the Saints. The big fella Rowan Marshall, we were all fascinated to see his pairing with De Koning and how they'd match up, but he's copped a stray knee here. And Cooper Sharman, he was involved in nearly every forward foray. He was launching at the ball and a bit of friendly fire. Just the Saints take on the Demons in a week's time, so I'd be curious to see what the medical report says for the Saints, because as we know, if you're in the concussion protocol, which he ended up in the back of the bench, he'll miss next week against the Demons.
Looked a bit sad and sorry in the back of the bench there. One thing I'd say though, yes, he's taken out of the game concussion. It was late in the third quarter when he got that hit. He'd had 6 possessions, so you can't say it worked. And he played as a forward and didn't clunk one inside forward 50. He was almost the relief ruckman to the new boy De Koning. So that's the first outing. It didn't work. Not on that outing. It's only week 1. We give him more time. But on the first time we see it happen, it hasn't worked.
Collingwood 12-point winners. They were very impressive as always. The Saints, do you give them a bit of a tick?
Yeah.
Showed enough for you?
Yeah, I thought they were all right. I thought they were pretty good. No real mode to get to goals. So everything happened in fits and spurts and, I didn't see that coming. There was nothing where you go, this is a bankable opportunity to score out of. Mitchie Owens outbodied his opponent a couple of times, didn't kick all that well, probably could have kicked another one, I think, but there was no bankable mode to say this is how they are going to score. So, I mean, that's a common problem with a lot of teams too, I might add. But I thought they were pretty good. Sometimes you come up against a team which plans well, executes well and plays well, and that was Collingwood tonight.
Let's go all the way back to the season opener on Thursday night, Charlie Curnow, key forwards, and the SCG gets the place rocking all the way back since Plugger, The Wiz, Buddy, Barry Hall, and Charlie Curnow is the latest in that long line of key forwards. Look, going up to half-time, it was a pretty dour affair. Both sides were battling. It was hot and slippery. It was a bit of a bar of soap, but an absolute breathtaking third quarter from the Swans, and you throw in the extra 6 goals the last quarter, they just blew Carlton off the park.
Absolutely. So the Carlton team did pretty well to half-time. It was a sluggish winning break that they had at half-time. I heard some of the pundits say, they wiped the Swans off the map. I'm thinking, no, they're beating them, but it's sluggish. It's not what I'd say is not rectifiable for Sydney Swans. So I felt pretty confident at half-time that at least one of their 3 guns in the middle would get going. I didn't think all 3 of them would, and they did. And that was pretty well the end of the penny section.
Well, I saw some good signs in the first half, and I think this is what you've got to capture if you're the Carlton Footy Club. And I reckon if you look at this edit first, previous years they would have just jammed this on the boot and dumped it long, but there was the willingness to use the handball, turn and face goal, try and draw someone. So that was the very first centre bounce.
Use your legs to get out of it. Yep.
This one off half-back. Sards handballed it, but look at the run from behind. So Walsh doesn't bang on the boot, then they get the overlap, the run. This is Williams coming up from half-back. That's really positive football, and I think that sets them up really well. But I guess the flip side, if you're going to have this side, transitioning into a different type of football side or a different identity, if you will, instead of let's all trudge down the line, go to a clearance, kick it, you've got to pay attention to the details. And this is the next step for me with the Blues. And just room for improvement and coachable moments. So this chain of handballs, fantastic. That one goes there. Fogarty's got to be stronger in the tackle, and he misses 2 players. That misses a goal, then misses the second one. Just look at Lewis Young here. We're going to pause it just there on the kick. He's guarding the goal umpire and Wiedering. Harry Dean pumps the ball out. Now, there's plenty of time. You can almost do the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi as you do, Derm. Yeah. And then there's plenty of time to set back up the ground. But as the ball comes in, it's Harry Dean, who, mind you, had double cramp at this stage, taking a Marty, who's not his opponent. So what are Wiedering and Young doing here? They're still having a thumb war back in the top of the goal square. So you've got to just be switched on all the time. The Swans are going to be one of the top 6 sides. That's Hollands there. Everyone knows Roberts is a left footer. Don't corral him onto his left foot. So I'm not being overly critical, but when you want to raise yourself from, say, this group of teams to that group of teams, It's the attention to detail, which then allows all these faster passages of play. You get full bang for buck, and instead of being only 2 or 3 goals up at halftime, you might be 5 goals up. So it's just the little things that they can grab with whoever their development coaches or their line coaches, go, hey, next time we're in this situation, do this, or let's go out on the oval and just train it.
See, I totally agree with you. I think that they gave great effort. There's no doubt about that, and they really had a go. One thing I saw from them, I thought it was an uneducated display. Those younger blokes, it was like their IQ of football understanding, like that Hollands onto the left foot of Roberts. That's lower footy IQ. You know, as you called it then, Roberts is only ever going to want to swing onto his left, and he corralled him onto the outside of the ground, and that happens to be his left foot. You've got to understand that. If you're playing league football, you've got to think like a 60, 70, 80 game player, third-year player, which he is, and think that's smart. And they played a pretty naive game at times.
Well, let's keep that thought going, Derm. Harry Dean, on debut, showed plenty of positive signs, but you just highlighted, again, just a real coachable moment for Harry Dean.
So you've got Elijah Hollands with the free kick. His opponent is Roberts. So Harry Dean's out there to give a target. Roberts rounds him up. So Elijah should kick the ball and then locate Roberts, his opponent, come out to the ball. So what we have, if we let this roll now, Harry Dean, not used, so he says, oh, great, I can go back into the back line now and become an extra defender. Where's the most dangerous spot on the ground? 10 metres forward of the stoppage or the scrimmage. Bang. Neither player. So there has to be a communication. You wonder why blokes like when you were playing, you or Luke Hodge are screaming, pointing at that. Someone has to say to Harry, one of the senior players has to point to Harry and say, you've got him until we can lock on him and we'll locate him and lock him down. You've got him. You've got to be able to play that as a senior AFL football. That was junior stuff. And it was 2 boys. Holland should know better. He's in his 4th year now. Harry Dean, first game, fantastic. But that was an under-18 moment.
Well, Sam Doherty, the former Carlton captain, had some stronger points of view. And in his defence, I worked with him on 3AW the night before. He probably echoed those thoughts with a few more fruity words that...
Adjectives?
Yes, that a mate of his, Dan Gorringe, on a booming podcast decided to air. So this was the talking point after this game.
So basically what happens, and exactly what happened again last night, is the same that happens every other game. When the game's hot and contested and pressurised, Carlton's good in that environment, but as soon as some team can do somewhat good in the contest, the rest of the game just falls to pieces. Because the game gets somewhat slower and there's more open brand footy, that's when Carlton's horrible. So basically you smack our mids again this year and we'll be going off last night.
There's a fair bit of passion involved there. And like I said...
He's not inaccurate.
No,
That's pretty accurate. But
I worked the game with him and he said it, not to that level, but the key point of his presentation was pretty much the same.
Did Dan Gorringe have authority to actually play that?
I don't think so. It's a big podcast Dan's got. He's flying.
He might have stiffed him there. You can sometimes send those things thinking, this is just for you. I've got a feeling he thought this was just for Dan to give him a bit of an insight to what he felt. But, Dan's decided to play it.
I'll tell you what I'd encourage the Carlton Brains Trust to do, because... You know, the premiership window, I think it might have been, was it Mick Malthouse who did the premiership window where you're sitting on the clock, and you've got to identify and be really clear where you are on the premiership clock. And where Carlton are, I encourage them to, if you put it on a whiteboard or whatever you use to reference, is call it 50 games to a flag. Yep. Right? You be ambitious. And so with that, make all your coaching decisions, recruiting decisions, list decisions based off, does this help us get closer to that flag in 50 games. So when I had a look at the selection they ran out with, yes, there's a bit of cover, of course, Harry Dean playing his first game in key defence, and Jagger Smith was excellent in his first game. But I just encourage Carlton to do that, because if you're going to play guys going, we need a bit of cover, I actually don't think that helps you to where you're going to get. Like, hopefully Carlton are brave and
there's a balance though, isn't there? You can't have them getting belted.
No, but I don't think they'll get belted. If you're making a decision, I don't see the sense in playing 4 tools in your back 50. And a couple of those aren't going to be part of your next premiership side, what you're hoping in 50 or 70 games. So that's all I say. Just identify where you think you're on the premiership window or the clock, and then put it on the board. Does this help us get to there really quickly? It's different for different sides. Clearly...
Do you understand the Carlton faithful? They're impatient.
Yes, they're clearly impatient. But if you're going to do it right and you want that sustained success, you've got to hold it. Again, like if you flip it around, Collingwood are trying to win a flag now. So that's why you keep all the veterans and things like that. They know where they are on the ladder. It's just a bit of a thought for me.
It is turning into an older players' sport. You have a look at the premiership teams 20 years ago, 9 out of 10 teams were under the age of 25 and a half. Now, it's flipped. Like 80% of the teams are 26 and a half over. So you've got to have the understanding of, as I say, locate, lock down, spatial awareness, when to kick, when not to kick, what to do. So it's a smarter footballer's game. And the physiology background of the sport, they're getting better, so we can keep players in it longer. So if you can build and hold a list of more mature players who don't lose their physical prowess... Yeah, but I agree with you. You still have to find the talent to come through, and you've got to be patient to let them come through. And I don't know whether the Carlton supporters are that patient.
No, they're not. Errol Gulden is a fantastic player, but he could also be a fantastic leader, just growing in stature, and this really caught your eye.
So, Big Pitto's kicked it, and as is the syndrome at the moment, as soon as you kick it, people run to the vanquished and get in his face and tell him he's no good. But you have a look what Errol Gulden does here. He grabs Brodie Grundy. Look at the Carlton boys trying to go up Brodie Grundy, but Errol Gulden puts his hand on the shoulder and walks him towards the centre, away from the Carlton throng, and keeps himself between Cripper and everyone else who's trying to get in the ear of Brodie Grundy and say, you were ratty then, you were dominated, you were... Look at him. That is fantastic from a 23-year-old. No, don't go in there. You come with me. I'm pushing you towards the centre. I just thought that showed so much leadership. That kid's 23. He's running around as captain already.
Well, he was the fire starter in that third quarter. He got his hands on the footy. Derm, the very early, way too early, trying to read too much into the footy sort of stuff. This is from
We'll do it though.
Yeah, the rule changes. Everyone's so curious what will happen with the game, and this is just what I'm putting on notice. It's become such a front half turnover game where, from boundary throw-ins and stoppages and being able to slow the opposition down, you can march your defence up and then you can squeeze the life out of the game. Now that we've got players who have to stand, absolutely still on the mark, you can take that territory really quickly. We've got the lasso rule, which is now also sides from the back 50 to forward 50. And this has just jumped out at me. The sides who played some really good footy over the weekend, Gold Coast, GWS, the Swans and the Dogs. Last year's average going from D50 inside forward 50, it was 22%. Now the Dogs and the Lions played an absolute thriller. But you'd say those three top sides were able to really just play with super speed, and the opposition couldn't get set on them. So just keep an eye on sides' ability now to be able to come from all the way back in their defence again to score, because the ground opens up. So just a bit of a watch this space for me.
I reckon it's a great figure, that, because when I was watching the best game so far that we had this weekend, which was the Premiers, the Lions up against the Doggies, in that final quarter, when either team was kicking in, it felt like, well, they're going to get it to the other end. Both teams were able to advance the ball from kick-in or full-back line once they got it, right through to an attacking scoring possibility. Both teams were able to do that. So I reckon in the final quarter, it was even a higher percentage than that when there was a fair bit of fatigue in the game. So that rule is probably, that you've explained there, is probably going to widen it and making it easier for teams to advance the ball through the traffic. I reckon Collingwood watched it over the weekend and thought, we can do this as well by foot, and they did it today.
Give me 6 weeks, I'll deny all knowledge of it if the number starts to go down. Hey, we're still going to touch on the Dogs' massive win up north. They were gritty, the Bulldogs. The Giants made a statement against your Hawks. But some more insight with these rule changes. Let's get to the third member of our team, Jules Valance.
Thanks, Jimmy. With this opening round, we don't want to go too early in saying, OK, this is how the game's going to be played for the rest of 2026. But I just have a feeling that if you don't score in 2026 heavily, you ain't going to be a part of this final system, whatever that takes place. You can't score, you're going to be left behind. Have a look at this. So let's do apples versus apples. Opening round, average score 2024, 169. 2025, we only had the 2 games. I get that, 164. This year, 207. So look, 6 games in those 2 years between 2024 and 2025. Only 1 game went to 190 plus. It was 194, GWS versus Collingwood, but GWS just could not miss at all. Kicked 18 goals, 6. This year, we've seen it just players being very, very aggressive. And this is where I want to get to my next point. And I think this is a key that might just be very interesting for the others out there, is that it's bye-bye system. It's not about the system. It's about your top-end talent. The rule changes. We've seen it for this opening round. Again, we're not saying, OK, we've seen it all the data, but there's enough. There's less stoppages. There's more open space. And here we can roll some footage. Look, this ball is just opening up. It gives many, many opportunities to get the ball in your best player's hands. And that's the key factor. The stand rule in particular, handball receives. I think you'll see plenty of teams sort of cheating to their side. Once that ball's open, hey, we're going to take a risk and try and score out of it. NBA have a blueprint. I know it's only 5 players on a court, but it's 1 player is your star and you get the ball to that best player as much as you can. I think this is going to start to happen here in this competition right now. Yes, you've got 18 players on the field, but you get 4 or 5 top-end talent, that's where the focus is. Goulden gets 10 score involvements. Petrarca, Anderson get 12 each. Richards gets score involvements, 16 plus. These kinds of goals and things that we saw, this is going to be absolutely crucial. Now, you're going to hear plenty of narrative from clubs about our bottom 4 or 5. They all got a role to play. Yeah, got a role to play. But I've got no doubt that you get the ball into your best players' hands, the 3 or 4, and you've got top-end talent, that's how this game's going to evolve. It's going to be aggressive, but more or less, those bottom 4 or 5, get out of the way, do your role a little bit, get it to the best players, and that's how 2026 is going to be won. It's going to be aggressive, and it's going to be stars absolutely taking a hold of this football game.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
You can take extra time of this, though. You can take a 5th quarter of this.
Jeez, how are the players going?
Bramble bounced off his chest. Hines. Dale needs a target, finds a target. Richards looks up and goes. He's got Fraser out the back, or English. Whoa. English strolls in.
Just worked them over end to end, from end to end.
In he struts. Dogs lead.
What a win for the Western Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed a classic.
That was the Hyundai Go Big moment of the opening round. What a gritty win from the Bulldogs, at one stage being 26 points down late in that game. And for me, Derm, that was a big statement. Yes, opening round, we can hear everyone saying opening round. But the important factor is that the big question mark on the Dogs last year was, can you beat the sides above you? They were bang average. And I mean that they couldn't really beat anyone above them, and they'd smoked everyone below them. So I think every year when you put things on the whiteboard, we hear interstate teams, you want to win at the MCG, or you want to win out west if you're a Victorian team. For the Dogs, they've already sort of started to tick a box that they probably would have had on the whiteboard at the start of the year. Can you beat a good side away from home? And Brisbane are an exceptional side, as we know.
One thing they've flagged already, and that is, remember 3 years ago when Fly McRae and Collingwood, when it was a close game and the chips were down, they just kept winning single-figure margins. This one says, similar to that, doesn't matter where we are, we're still coming at you. And the bravery of the coach to actually put his best player at full forward, take him out of the heat. I mean, I'm thinking, why would you do that? He won the game. Ed Richards had more room to move. Bont was just super damaging down forward. What a coaching move. It just says, doesn't matter where you have us on the board, we're coming.
Well, a man's name who'd win you a lot of points in Scrabble, Zakatelski, on debut.
Did you get that right?
Probably not. Highly unlikely. I didn't get that right. But I thought he did a magnificent job in his first game. And I found it fascinating the last 5 minutes when they were trading goals. So this is him in the ruck. He's very undersized for a ruckman. Good huge leap. Jumped right over the top of Tim English. The surge forward, which ended up resulting in the amazing goal from Cam Rayner, which nearly blew the Gabba to smithereens with how loud the crowd was. They made the change, though, the Lions, and Tim English immediately got over the top of Darcy Ford, which this passage of play ends up being scrambling going forward. But then the matchup. Watch as the bottom screen where the scores are. Tim English, this makes me feel a little bit sick how easy a big guy like this can just motor through the middle of the ground and turn it being into the match-winning goal. So maybe could have stuck with the young bloke who had all those big hops, the spring in his leg, because once they swapped it over, Darcy Ford was probably a bit fatigued going towards the end, and Tim English got the better of him in the last two big contests.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Who was winning at that moment? Hey, he's going real good. Just keep him going.
Another man who's enormous. Every time we see him, we just shake our head of his ability. Sam Darcy, centre forward, took the big mark. Did you think he made a good business decision?
Well, this is just how good even the teammates find the bond. Look at Oscar Baker. That's the easiest kick to make. He's still in the channel. It's still an easy kick to make. No, he goes for the difficult one to the Bond, out into the pocket. He's got to time that so well. Now, Bond kicks the goal anyway, so they win with that play. But it just said to me, there's an easy kick on in the channel, and he saw Oscar Baker there, and he went, no, a guaranteed kick for you, 35 out directly in front. I'll take the Bont 40 out on a hard angle. It just said, I'm going to my champ every time.
Come on, Derm. You're one of the smartest folks to play on and off the field. If you see the captain, you pass him the ball.
See the jumper, Jimmy. See the jumper and do the team thing.
I think this
worked out anyway. Yeah.
The next man I'm going to talk about, Ed Richards. If he's not one of your favourite players to watch footy, I don't know what you are watching. He's obviously, since he moved off the half-back line and into the midfield, he doesn't make up the numbers. He's a bona fide A-grade footballer. His kicking is lethal. He takes the game forward. Look at those numbers. They are
16 scoring involvements
and 2 goals. He just rips you apart.
The thing is, every team, and you're finding even teams right now, Carlton, Hawthorn will be saying to us, we need players to go to the next level. If ever you want an example of a club who is given an opportunity to a boy off a half-back flank or a wing, and so we want him to go to the next level, it's Ed Richards. That's in the absolute dictionary. Yeah, next level, there's a picture of Ed Richards.
Derm, I've heard your name being thrown around that you should be added to the match review panel because you should. You should. There you go. Hi, Derm, because he nails them. Because this morning you said, let's have a look at Zach Bailey and Darcy Gardner, and of course Harris Andrews. All three of those Lions gentlemen have received suspensions from the MRO, and we'll wait and see if they're willing to appeal. All very different acts. Harris Andrews copped the most there with 3 weeks swinging the arm back there on Artie Jones. As each time the camera flashed to Artie, his face just got bigger and bigger. Yeah. But I knew...
That's the most accidental out of all 3.
Yeah, I knew you were very strong on this one and also the Zach Bailey one.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, look at this. He's never taken his eyes off Norton. He loads up the elbow and delivers it to here.
He got lucky.
He's lucky it didn't just shift an inch and a half there and get him on the jaw. He's seen the target, he's run at it, cocked the elbow and run into him. Why is there only 1 week?
He also gave him a 50, which put him on the goal line, made a certain goal at a crucial time.
And Zach Bailey, he knows he's been tackled, he senses the head's there. He didn't like being tackled over the boundary line. And there is a hubris that creeps into back-to-back premiers. You played in so many premierships yourself. Sometimes you get to the point where you think, well, we're the reigning premier, we're the twice reigning premier, we're the 3-time whatever. How dare you treat me? How dare you badmouth me a few minutes ago? Bang, cop one for your trouble. The intent, that's worth more than one. That is worth more than one.
Was that why you were a little bit edgy? Because you had 5 premierships, so the amount of hubris attached to 5 premierships?
Yeah, a lot of edginess.
A lot of edginess.
Every year edginess.
Derby, you touched on the top of the show that the Hawks looked flat to you. Yep. The Giants, incredibly impressive win with up to 10, 11 players that could probably start in their 23 out. What did the Giants do just to keep the Hawks at bay and not allow them to play that fast brand of football?
Well, Hawthorn love to use their foot skills. They love to be able to massage the opposition's zone and kick through it and utilise their beautiful kickers of the footy. They just had nowhere to go. This is a full zone and they just cannot move the ball. The game's pretty well gone at this stage, but this just highlighted what happened. Don't give it to Tom Barras. He's a wonderful player, but you don't want him kicking through a zone. And it just highlighted how difficult they made it for the Hawks to actually pinpoint the passes the way they love doing so. So I thought, once again, Kinga, he had a great day in the box as well. He locked Hawthorn's ball movement away, and that's why they had so much room when they were able to flow forward. They got some young players who are no-name type players, Fonte and the likes, who actually cover the ground really, really well. And when the Giants get it, they go whop, and they are off, and they're hard to catch, and that gives them that forward momentum. But they load up the back half, three-quarter field, and make you want to take on a kick you're probably not meant to. So I thought it was beautifully coached.
You highlighted one of those young players, the Font. Fonte rebounding off half-back, and this is what they've had to do, out of necessity, but once you filter these young players in and you can surround them with some experienced players, this is how you build depth in your club. And you mentioned Fonte now up to 23 games. Harvey Thomas, I reckon when he got drafted in that group that he came with, because of his just size, I went, I don't know. But he's played 41 games and he's important because he's running power. Angwin can play multiple roles. Rouston, Grzeski as another forward. The key thing with a lot of these players, Derm, is if you can be patient with them. I know not all sides can, and especially if they're going up to GWS and they're moving into state, you feel like you've got to play them so then they don't go home. But they've been able to keep them in their VFL for a while, learn their craft, so when they come in, they're ready to have an impact. And Phoenix Gothard, I just love that one, because if you want a smile on your face, go watch his draft day again when he showed up to support Connor O'Sullivan. He didn't even have a shirt. And so he was shocked as anyone and kicked a goal on debut. So they've got to build some depth up there at the Giants, so hopefully make them stronger for this year and year to come.
Now, the Hawks, you saw the Suns play a pretty ordinary game last practice match, and then they switched on. They brought intensity to the game on the weekend, and they put away the Cats when it was through intensity that just gave them that. The Hawks lacked intensity against the Doggies, their final game, and they stayed in that lack of intensity type of mode. So what I have here is two senior players of the Hawks who don't show the required intensity. Connor Nash, he's opposed to this man here.
Harvey Thomas. Harvey Thomas.
Yep. Now, Nash is a midfielder normally and not a winger. He's on the wing at that moment, and what he does, he allows him that chip kick forward. Now, this looks simple, but see, Tom Barrass is the right distance from the original kicker. He's guarding that zone and he will intercept that mark. And you see Jakey's come back off it a bit, probably cheating a little bit, Jakey. But the short chip kick that goes to Harvey Thomas, because Connor Nash hasn't locked him away, means that the ball gets longer and bypasses Tom Barrass. And then that gives Jakey the clean jump at it. And also James Sicily was forward. He could have come out to actually pressure Thomas with that kick. And he just sort of marked and tread water. There wasn't a lot of intensity from James. He's my favourite player, I might add.
Here it is again. So we see it there. So the little chip, it's not a sexy kick at the start, but it gets the Hawks caught short in defence.
Absolutely. See, James won't come. He just walks and he's no hands in the air. That's just two senior players who've got it horribly, horribly wrong. And that if that's coming from your leaders, the rest fall in behind. So it just need a better effort than that. So I've got no doubt that they will go back to the training track this week. And I think, Sammy, I don't know if they still say it, but it might be the old bring the mouthguards Tuesday.
Well, a man who's been a leader at the Giants since day one of the original Giants, Stephen Cornelia, I just have to...
Great fella.
I have to tip my cap to him because he's copped the rough end of the stick and came in for some criticism with his performance. But you've got to acknowledge when they play a really good game. And that little edit there is Steve Cornelio at his best.
The scamper run around?
Yeah. Light feet, gets out through the front of the stoppage. And I feel when Cornelio's at his absolute best, it's the 20 touches, it's hitting the scoreboard, it's pushing forward. And they needed him. Of course, he and Clayton Oliver had to step up and fill the void of Tom Green and all the other injuries, and he certainly delivered.
You know what he is in? He's in the grand final with Jack Steele for the #1 citizen in the AFL. Just ripping fella, just a great guy, the kind of bloke you want around your club. I know, as you called it, he's been injured and hasn't been out there that much in recent seasons. We hope he has a real good run at it this year, but he is just a #1 type personality.
Hey, Derm, you and I are working hard this week. They've got us on the tools because the footy classifieds are back. The Monday and Tuesday shows. You're on Tuesday. So get the suit out, ready to go. I'm on Monday night, tomorrow night. Lordo, of course, delivering his best. Damo breaking all the news and hosted by Sam McClure. So make sure you tune into Footy Classified Monday and Tuesday night. But time for another update with Jules Valance.
Thanks, Jimmy. On Wednesday, I stood here and I thought, I'm going to do a same game multi in the Western Bulldogs Brisbane game. I want to be in the high percentage play. And the high percentage play for these two teams was disposals. So this is where I wanted to be. Possessions for certain players. First and second, 2025, these two teams with 376, 372. So here I went to PointsBet and I went, look, I want to be involved with the possessions. So I thought McCluggage 23 plus, Zorko 22 plus, Richards 23 plus, and Berry 20 plus. Berry was the trick. He needed to last all the way. But the key factor here is PointsBet have a sensational product called Pull 'em. So up until the start of the third quarter, if at any stage I thought someone was struggling, I had the opportunity to pull one of those players. I had the control. I could absolutely navigate what I wanted to do with this bet. Unbelievably, McCluggage goes down, does his calf early doors, only had 4 possessions to half time. I get the opportunity to take him out. Then I get those pre-game odds of $4. So I was originally $5. McCluggage actually was my shortest price there, $1.20. He comes out, I keep the 3 remaining players and they all hit. Zorko gets 31. Richards gets 30 plus, probably wins him the game in the last couple of minutes. And Berry, even though he gets crook, ends up with 21 or 22 possessions. If you're playing in the same game multi-space, which I know plenty of you do, you just have to be with PointsBet. It's exclusive and it's going to be your best friend all throughout the year.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Footy Furnace, presented by Hyundai. Get a deal you'll be proud of at Hyundai. And Brady Hotels and Apartments, Melbourne's CBD accommodation just minutes from Marvel Stadium and the MCG.
Well, it's time to get into the Gold Coast and Geelong game, or as Damien Hardwick should name his band, Damien Hardwick and the New Toys, because he had plenty at his disposal and they were at their destructive best. Derm, you and I both were discussing this. Have we found a little chink in the Cats' armour?
With you and I both have almost landed on the same chink, haven't we? And that is the Cats' strength. Well, you explain through here.
So the only issue I've got is the Cats love to keep their back 6 intact. So they want enough pressure around the ball to quick kick it. And that's Tom Stewart's domain and the rest of their back line, the way they've trained. But Brisbane, excellent side, Gold Coast side. And I think I framed this by, I've got it in grey lead, because I'm not, it's just a watch this space. So look at the amount of space between the contest.
It's vast, isn't it?
And your back 6. And sides will just cut you apart. But also what small forwards and mids coming up, the attacking mids, are doing to Geelong. So what sides are doing is they're bringing them up higher and Geelong are dropping off. And so what's creating is that forward handball, because that's now open. And sides are saying, don't quick kick it, because you'll have the free in front of you and take the game on. So, take the tackle on, you'll have the one free forward and then lower your vision going inside forward 50. Because if we go back to the grand final where they got touched up, Cameron 4, Bailey, multiple goals, even Hugh McCluggage 4 goals when we played that role. Ashcroft playing as the high half forward, won the North Smith.
He came up and started in that space.
Yeah, and then Gold Coast, Humphrey 4, and then we know what Petrarca did. And you throw in others, Lombard kick 2, Ben Long kick 2. So similar types are getting a hold of them.
So, and feeding on to the back of that, which I was discussing with you, is what is your strength can also be your weakness sometimes, because teams say, right, that's what they're good at, that's what they're really... Tom Stewart is a star, he's a champion, and he's so good at, he's got his man, he's got him in front of him, and then he works out the kick's going long, he peels back, goes to the front of the goal square, well, wherever the contest is, floats in, takes the mark, intercept mark. They led up on him. So now he falls over here. Why did he fall over? Because he was running towards goal. He turned him around. So whoever has Tom Stewart, they say, we're going to lead up on you, on Tom Stewart. If you see Tom Stewart's opponent, he's going to come at the ball carrier. We want Tom Stewart being dragged out. And he's not going to chase that hard. He's looking to go the other way for a start. So he is a star, he is a champion, he's going to go down as one of the greats. But what has made him great can also be that chink in the armour we're talking about.
Geelong Footy Club will be fine. They've proven
great.
that over the last 20
Great
years.
club.
But it's just maybe something they need to adjust to. If opposition keeps sending half forwards up, maybe we might have to go up with one or two or the most dangerous and take a little bit of...
Do they play one of their midfielders, bring one of their own... Well, they do bring some of their own forwards up. Do they play one of their midfielders like in a Trent Cotchin role, bring him around to the back of the pack?
I'd probably watch it over the coming weeks just to
see if they do.
Give a little bit of cover. Christian Petrarca was... He was spectacular and no tackle could hold him. But the thing that jumped out to me, Derm, was not only his skill inside the contest. Can you remember Christian kicking the ball that well over the course of the game? He was hitting darts, he was taking the weight off it. I think he ran at 87%. That little shuffle he does to get a couple of metres and just kicking, drilling balls.
Well, if this was 2025, I'd say this is a collage of 6 games to get this many good kicks out of him. He's a beast. He loves breaking tackles and going forward, but he doesn't kick it like that every time. On the weekend he did. He was just fantastic with his ball disposal.
Well, we've covered all the sides that played in opening round, but let's go to the early check-in, thanks to Brady Hotel. So what we're going to do here, Derm, is just check in on the sides that haven't played, and we'll throw up the line, as they call it. How many wins is the line, whether they'll go under or over those wins.
So these are the expected wins for the team for the season?
Yeah, okay. So I'll kick it off with Fremantle Football Club, and the line there that they've got up is 14.5 wins. Now, I'm going to go over this because I think Freo might be a sneaky chance to finish on top of the ladder. And the way I've worked this out is they've got their 11 home games.
Yep.
Then they play the Eagles again, they double up the Derby.
That's 12, so there's 2 wins.
They also have North Melbourne in Western Australia.
Yes, 3 guaranteed.
Yeah, and you'd expect them to beat West Coast and North Melbourne, and they've got a couple of other sides which we're going to probably group in the bottom 6 twice.
So probably 9 to 11 wins in West.
Yeah, I reckon they got 10 wins out West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got to find 5 wins after that.
Yeah. Well, you're playing North away and several other teams. Having said that, North people are saying, how dare you? Yeah, but that's just based on last year. Well, I hope they come out much better.
I think they're good enough to win more than 14.5. Port Adelaide, I'll throw to you.
Port Adelaide, this is a year for stability. This is just stabilise it. So they got to finals under Ken several times, didn't get the chocolates, but now they've almost taken a step back. They've got a new coach. I think it's just a stability year for them. 9.5 wins seems about right, I'd say. If you're going to beat them over there in Adelaide, you're going to have to play well, but it's not insurmountable that you can't get the job done. On the road, they're going to find it a bit tough. They have to have their 3 midfield guns playing each and every game if they want a real shot to be over the 9.5 wins.
Melbourne Football Club is up next, refreshed under Stephen King, and well, by the way they're playing their pre-season football, I know that doesn't mean anything. 8.5 is such a good number, whoever picked that up, because I'm going to go over because I think they've got 9 wins. I'm more of an optimist than a pessimist.
Given the fact that they've let Maisie go as well, says to me, we're going to take a couple of steps back.
Yeah, and
if you really want to win games, and I think Stephen Mason's a ripping bloke, he just finds trouble.
This is back to this 50-game discussion, identifying where you are on the clock.
Yeah, if you want to win games, you keep playing him. This is the year they base on re-establishing character. I mean, as good as Christian Petrarca and Clayton Oliver have been as players, they destabilised that area, that football club, somewhat. I mean, Christian still talked about his injuries, life-threatening injuries, after the game, and that was a haul back to the Melbourne time. So the Melbourne club are taking back their club. I mean, as I said, Jack Steele, what a great character. He's not the same player as those 2 boys, but he's an A-grade character. This is about building character around people like Windsor and Langford and Turner and the Latrell Pickett who come. This is about having stable, committed people in your football club who will teach you great habits. So I think that 8.5, I think they might even drop a little bit below that, but have flashes of brilliance. So be patient, Melbourne. This is about the long build.
Richmond Football Club, they have filled their locker room full of young, talented players in all areas of the ground. I actually love the way they've approached their last two drafts. They've mixed and matched. There's some key forwards, there's some inside mids, there's some mids that can play forward, there's half-back flankers. The under-over there is 4.5 wins. I think they'll be better than last year. They'll get there on that one.
I think they probably get up around the 7-8. And if they have a really, really good season, they might get 8 or 9 wins.
Do you think they're going to win more than Melbourne by saying that then?
Oh, they'll be line ballish.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the MCG game might mean a real lot between those two when it comes around.
Well, Jules Valance has insight on two of those sides. The Foxcatcher Insights is powered by PointsBet.
Thanks, Jimmy. Opening round is done and dusted. Let's get to the premiership market here because this is really interesting. I find that from round to round, modelling impacts the markets. With this one, with these futures, it's more fingerprints. There's a bit more human element involved. And you can see Brisbane holds its price at $4.50. The Movers, Gold Coast, $7.50 into $5.50. Sydney, $10 into $8. And the Cats, they're the big drifter, sort of $13 out to $17. We know in this sport, very reactive from week to week, from a media point of view, but also from a market point of view. I don't want to play in that space. The space I do want to play in is a couple of teams that haven't played in opening round, but are going to play, obviously, in round one. We start with Melbourne. So in terms of wins, how many can they get for the season? 8.5 is the line. I'm going to be under 8.5 for the Demons. Now, they won 11 games in 2024, good. Dropped to 7 games in 2025, averaging 77 and 83 on the scoreboard. Look, they were average health. We talk about health is wealth all the time at Foxcatcher. In terms of this team, I mean, it's pretty good. 2025, they had 36 players used. Key factor also is no home ground advantage. And when I talk about that, is what I mean is when they play these teams at the MCG, it's like Collingwood and Carlton and Richmond. There's probably more fan base for those other teams. So it's not a real home ground advantage for Melbourne anytime they play at the MCG. They've given away one game at Alice Springs. So I'm happy to be on the unders 8.5 for Melbourne. Their top-end talent, probably Gawn and Pickett, they're superstars, but they can't be everywhere. A team I want to be with the overs in terms of their total wins for the season is Port Adelaide. This is an interesting one. So in 2024, we know they finished second, win 16 games. Last year, second unhealthiest team. You talk about health as well. This team was living under a bridge. That's how poor they were. They played 40 players. As a result, 3 goals less in terms of attacking on the scoreboard. And also want to push into the fact that I think they can win these games early. Let's show the first 6 games that they play here. North Melbourne, Essendon, West Coast, Richmond. St Kilda gather round at home. And then they play the Hawks. Now, that's going to be a tricky one because it's in Melbourne. But the trick there is Hawthorn before that 2 rounds play Geelong on a Monday in that big game at the MCG. Then they have to go to gather round and they play Western Bulldogs, which I think is going to be a high-tempo game. Port might be able to just get them. Look, the massive price, $17, but happy to have a dartboard throw at Port Adelaide to be league leaders after round 6.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
If you're heading to the footy or just exploring Melbourne, stay at Brady Hotels and Apartments.
Offering great value across 4 CBD locations, all within walking distance of the MCG and Marvel Stadium.
Flinders Street and Hardware Lane feature spacious apartment-style stays, while Central Melbourne and Jones Lane put you right in the heart of the action.
Families and friends can enjoy Melbourne their way. Some head to the footy while others explore the city's best dining, shopping and attractions, all while getting excellent value for their stay.
Brady Hotels and Apartments, the smart, value-packed base for game day and city adventures. Let's continue our early check-ins. All thanks to Brady Hotels. Magnificent joint. Magnificent joint. Really easy to get to the footy from one of the Brady Hotels there. Adelaide Crows are up next. Derm, their under-over is 14.5 wins. I think they're just too experienced side, and I reckon they'll back up.
You reckon they'll get the 14.5?
Yeah.
It's a big get.
Yeah, you do the home games, plus, again, the double up with the showdown and the gather round.
Yeah. When Rankin was out, they went out in straight sets.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the end of the season.
No, but I'm saying if they get hit by injuries to their...
Yeah, they're
well, it's the same with everyone. You get hit by injuries to your top-end talent. But just Rankin going out, just one injury to elite talent, they couldn't break a game open after that happened. So I'm not saying that they can't do it. I think it's going to be... He'll need to play pretty well every game, Isaac Rankin. Yeah, he's their game breaker.
I need him to play well 15 games.
Very good. Very good.
West Coast Eagles, they got the lowest under-over to be expected.
Yep.
They've had a horror couple of years with injuries and turnover of players, but 3.5 wins. Can they get 4 on the board?
No, I don't think they can. It's going to be a season for the West Coast Eagles. Take the punishment. Put learnings into your young players. Let them learn. They're going to be smacked around. Some of them are going to take that punishment and mightn't recover. You've got to find the ones that do recover. And that being the case, you have to have Yo and Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly cannot play in the waffle. Tim, you've got to play well enough to be a leader out on the field in the AFL every week.
Well said, Dermot. I hope Minnie McQualter goes well and gets
Good
4+ win. Ripping bloke. North Melbourne. I found this one really, really difficult. Look, I've been tracking North Melbourne. I've been bullish on them. I sort of look at their percentage, which used to drive Hurdy mad, because I think that's a good reflection of how you attack and defend. That percentage needs to get closer to 100, because me, that's a sign that you got the balance between your game. You know, when you've got ball in hand and when the opposition's got it.
8 wins.
They have to have 8 wins. They've got to start showing some progression. I think they've got some ability, talent. I love Paul Curtis. I reckon you love Paul Curtis.
Paul Curtis is a ripper.
Nick Larkey. I think there's enough there to get them 8 wins.
There is talent there, isn't there? The thing that is going to be very difficult for them is to learn to play defensively in different modes. Alistair's tried to get them to play a bit of a sliding defence on occasions. They were incapable of doing that. They got exposed and the game's gone in a matter of 6 inside 50s of the opposition. They bang on 31 points. They just get exposed in that. They still have to learn how to play these different modes of defence, back 6 or the back half of the ground. Other than that, they've got to make it enticing for McKercher, Wardlaw, O'Sullivan, Sheasel, Dersma, those talented kids. They have to make it enticing for them to want to stay at the club. They've got to get those blokes, all of them, over 60 games, and they have to make them feel that once they're at 60 games, everyone's going to look at them and say, he's a really good player. Any one of those is a really good player. And they're going to try and pinch him. They have to make those boys say to themselves, I want to stay at North. We're building.
Yeah, well said, Derm. Essendon was the Oprah Winfrey Club. You get a game, everybody gets a game, because they were dragging them from anywhere because they were just decimated by injuries.
Weren't they, by injury?
Which makes it actually really difficult to get a beat on the Bombers, because, good players out in the park, you can instill whatever game style you want, whether it be attacking or defensive. 7.5 is the under over there for the Bombers.
At the 8-game mark of last year, without injuries, they were 5 wins. At the 9-game mark, I think they were 6 wins, or 10-game mark, 6 out of 10. It's not a bad effort. And then the injuries just mounted up there.
They found every black cat and ladder out of the hangar.
Like we've never seen before. Well, I don't know if I've never seen before, but 2 key personnel as well. So, healthy list. I think they're going to... I reckon they'll knock that over. I reckon the Bombers will go 8+.
That's been a lot of fun. We've already
Good on you.
Opening round already. You're on Footy Classified on Tuesday night. I'm on Footy Classified tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Tune in. Lordo, Damo, Sam McClure hosting the show. That was opening round Footy Furnace. Good night, everyone.